Welcome to the Food Professor Podcast, live from New York. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm live from Halifax, the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Our guest on this episode is the force of nature that is Suzie Yorke, CEO and founder of the Little Cacao Company, fractional CMO for the Three Farmers Foods, who we've had on the pod, an innovative food brand veteran, innovator, and industry advocate. You're going to really enjoy this interview. She's been doing interesting things for many, many years. When did you first meet Suzie, Sylvain?
Suzie, I was like face to face. I actually met her for the first time in Vancouver at an event last year. Yeah, she's something else. She's so energetic and
force of nature.
And I think honestly, she's certifiably insane. I mean,
in a good way. In a good way.
Of course.
In a good way.
It's all about branding and she's a force of nature. I mean, that's really the right way to describe Suzie. And she's always out there, very active on social media, of course, and has a very successful career around consumer products in general. And she's made food her love, her passion, and it shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I said, we'll get to that interview a little bit later. As I said, I'm in New York City. I'm just wrapping up some time here at the NRF Big Show. It's kind of the National Retail Federation, the equivalent of RCC in Canada. Very big show, 43,000 people. So they set a record.
Wow.
Record attendance. And I do a bunch of things here.
How's it going? Like, what are you seeing? Are you seeing celebrities? Are you seeing new products, new ways of selling stuff?
Well, it's actually funny you say Ryan Reynolds was one of the keynote speakers. Speaking of celebrities, I didn't see it. Media, as I am, or analysts, were not allowed to go. So I'll have to follow up with some of the retailers that might have went. I did find something super interesting. Check this out. Unwell. So,
nice.
So this is a beverage that I got at the local Target. It's Alex Cooper's beverage. I think I've mentioned it before. It's a nutraceutical beverage, and I drink when unwell. So I've had a few of these while I'm on.
Are you talking about Alice Cooper, the singer?
I am talking about Alex Cooper, the founder of Call Her Daddy podcast and media company.
Alex Cooper, yes, Call Her Daddy, of course.
She is a phenomenon. Her former partner was just on Dancing with the Stars, actually. Just a little bit of cultural trivia there. But anyway, it's a drink when unwell. It's a nutraceutical. Funny story. I bought a couple of these, threw them in the fridge in the hotel, and woke up like at 3 o'clock in the morning one morning, and your throat's dry, right? The hotel air is quite dry. So I went over and I chugged half of it, and then I suddenly felt very awake. That's right. I didn't notice on the label the one I picked of the 3 had caffeine in it. So round about 5:45, I got back to sleep. But anyway,
and fun fact. That's typically the time you go to bed, my friend.
Well, yeah, exactly. I had a busy day the next day.
How dare you go to bed earlier?
I was trying. I needed to be up for the
Alex
tour.
To the rescue.
Alex to the rescue. It's a product of Canada, actually, of all things.
Oh,
it's
really?
Made here in Canada. Where am I? Yeah, it's made in Canada.
Don't tell President Trump. He doesn't need any products from us. He doesn't need anything from us.
Doesn't need anything. Well, Target somehow snuck across the border. Anyway, I was here. I did a great tour. No restaurants on the tour, but lots of retail. And one of them, Tecovas. I think I mentioned before. I'm wearing their new jacket. My jacket from Tecovas.
Beautiful jacket, by the way.
Thank you very much. And they have their concept is radical hospitality, and they have a bar in the store at the back, and it's just a gathering point. And I went to some other great places. One, which anyone
store in the back.
Well, not a store in the back, a bar in the back. A bar in the back of the store.
All legal stuff.
100% got their license. Okay. Everything is not a speakeasy. Right. And I should call out a retail store if anyone is traveling to New York City. Printemps, which is a French department store that has a luxury store here. They have 5 dining and beverage locations, and they turned their champagne bar, interestingly, in January, they turned their champagne bar into a dry, so to speak, champagne bar. It's all it's all non-alcoholic champagne. It's all from France. It's quite good.
Which is very fashionable.
Very fashionable, and shout out to the Printemps. So it's an amazing store. If you're ever in New York City, be sure and check it out. There's lots of that kind of entertainment and restaurants and all kinds of great things happening, and it's quite the store. All right, let's shift gears. We go from Printemps, the luxury retailer, to let's start off with McDonald's. So,
yes,
what's going on? I mean, they have a new leader, not so new. and I think she's she's European, I believe. And
yes, she's from Holland, I believe, and actually reached out to me and told me that the night before that they were launching this new campaign, freezing prices for a year for McValue meals, and of course the dollar for a cup of coffee bargain. It's a huge bargain right now, given the price of coffee, obviously. And so, they announced this week that they were freezing prices. So we've been here before, really. In 2013, we did experience a bit of a fast food price war, led, of course, by McDonald's. And McDonald's really fortified its position in the marketplace at the time. Of course, McDonald's forte is real estate. We all know that, but it does really control its supply chain very well. They buy tons of eggs, tons of beef, tons of everything from Canadian farmers. So obviously that's going to put pressure up the food chain, of course, for a while. And so my guess is that they've actually had these discussions with different partners in order for the chain to actually support these very aggressive prices. Because like a McValue meal at $5 and a cup of coffee at $1, it's these prices are extremely low. So I do think that McDonald's has worked its supply chain very well, and of course the competition will respond. And of course, will that impact food prices in general? I don't think so, because back 10 years ago with the last price war, we didn't see any impact on retail prices per se. So very interesting move from McDonald's. But I think it points to this reality that it's tough out there for restaurant operators. There's no traffic. There's less traffic. People aren't going out as much. So McDonald's is giving people a reason to go out and go to restaurants as much as possible. I think that's really the one thing that's going on here. When you look at quarterly results, McDonald's is still doing quite well. I mean, there was a bit of a dip 3 quarters ago, but they bounced back. So they're about $2 billion of profits every quarter. They just this is more on a defensive move, I think, just to protect their assets as much as possible. And they're going to be trying to crush their competition. I think that's basically it.
What was your observation or experience from the last time we had a price war? You mentioned one before. I'd imagine the big players, RBI, whoever else is going to react, Subway, all the big players that play in their space, right? Is that your expectation?
Yeah, more than a decade ago, everyone reacted, but here's what's different this time. This time, the consumer is somewhere else. Like in 2013, 2015, things were booming. People had money. There were jobs and people were going out. And so the economy was much stronger, I would say. Fundamentals were much stronger in Canada. And so now we're starting this price war, and we're seeing some job losses. Youth is having a hard time getting jobs. We're in a different place a little bit. And so that's why, and of course, there's lots of uncertainty around geopolitics, what's going to happen with the economy overall. So I do think that right now people are on edge, and McDonald's, they just want to basically retain as much traffic as possible.
Well, I thought it was interesting because at the two ends of the price elevation or escalation or cost escalation spectrum, you had coffee, which of course we've talked about many times as having an extreme, and then you've got beef at the other end. So both things are pretty savvy in terms of them marketing a price cut, a price freezing the prices. So congratulations, good luck to our friends at McDonald's. Maybe one day
we're going to try to get the CEO of McDonald's Canada on our show. I mean, I'm supposed to be talking to her over the next few weeks, so I will invite her to join us on the show. So hopefully she will accept.
Well, I'd love to hear all about it, particularly, but not singularly, the global emphasis, because she comes over here from Europe, so brings a different global aspect to the conversation. Speaking of global, let's talk about a scientific report suggests global temperatures dipped in 2025. Well, I think I saw in Canada that it was the third hottest year. I mean, when I think of a couple of times in the summer, it was like way, way hotter than I'd ever experienced it. But the study talked about La Nina and some other things. So what's your observation, and why are we talking about this?
La Nina will actually bring more moisture and more cool weather in North America. That's probably why we saw cooler temperatures in 2025, basically. So it was kind of ironic when I saw the report this morning from scientists saying that our temperatures dip in 2025 due to, well, wait for it, the weather. You know, the weather happens. I mean, it's just, it's the weather. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. But they brought forward this alarmist suggestion that, yes, we are expecting more extreme weather in the future. And frankly, I don't think it would be unreasonable to think so. But at the same time, when you think about the agri-food sector, it's adapting quite well to climate change in general. So, but every time, what I find really interesting is that every time they have a chance to set out a very alarmist message, they do it, no matter what the news is. And frankly, you know, the Earth has been around for billions and billions of years, and humans have been around for 300,000 years. And we've only collected data on temperature for 150 years. And a lot of it is not necessarily precise. And so we actually build these models based on a lot of imperfect data. And we come to the conclusion that we have to implement different policies like the carbon tax, for example, to influence behavior and decisions. And I've always believed we need to be careful here, especially when it comes to food. And I get it with transportation and other sectors, but when it comes to food, you know, some of these analysis are based on imperfect data, imperfect information, and people will conclude certain things and will push governments to really make silly decisions penalizing farmers and processors, and some of it to me is unwarranted. And so that's why I'm always a little skeptical when it comes to, you know, these sort of reports in general. But it's important to monitor what's going on with the Earth, of course. But at the end of the day, should we allow ourselves to influence food policy around food distribution in general? I'm not so sure.
I would say that I was also reading a report that Canada missed its climate and carbon reduction objectives for 2025, but mostly due to forest fires, because forest fires release a tremendous amount of carbon. So if we really want to fix those numbers, we have to fix our approach, I think, to forest fires. And that's a three-part. There's some great research on this about how we do controlled burns, how we harvest, because if it's going to burn anyway, if you harvest it and put it into a house, then it's 100 years before it releases its carbon. Or if you just let it keep going the way it's been going, we had tremendous fires in Winnipeg, just pours carbon into the atmosphere. So
also an interesting aspect to forest fires, how fires actually impact agriculture in general. Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, the Reuters story provided a positive spin to fires. It was kind of interesting because the argument was that it created a cloud over crops, really filtering UV rays from the sun, actually cooling things for canola, for example, and
moderating
increasing yields. Yeah. So I think the piece was a little speculative, but I thought it was an interesting hypothesis overall.
All right. So as I said off the top, I'm here in America, and actually at this show, Aldi made some announcements timed with this show. They're going to be opening more than 180 stores.
They already have 2,700 stores in America right now. So, and they entered the market, I believe it was in 1976, I believe.
Yeah, I think they're opening one close by me in Williamsburg in Brooklyn.
When was the last time we went to Aldi?
This time last year, I went to one in New Jersey because there's an Amazon fresh grocery store right beside it. They were kind of side by each in Lodi, New Jersey. By the way, I had a great discussion with Amazon grocery folks. I interviewed Steve Dennis and I in Remarkable Retail interviewed Jason Bichel, who's the president of Whole Foods and president of Amazon Grocery. And in talking to him, some very interesting things. You know, they sell $100 billion worth of grocery a year, and you're like,
$100 billion.
How can that be? Because they only have about 30 fresh stores and about 450 Whole Food stores.
Yeah,
it's the dry goods. It's the dry goods on the Amazon store. So they're still.
And so it's $100 billion, and the Canadian market retail is what, 150, 160?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean 10x, right? They actually have it's big, and he did say, we don't think we've got the formula quite right. He said in a number of words for expanding the fresh physical stores, but he did want to point out that, and the people there pointed out to me that actually we're a big player. We're underestimated, and to be fair, I underestimated them as well, because if you just look at pure market share, it's like 2 to 3% if you're just calculating market share. But it's really much, much more significant, and they just have such tremendous distribution power. So anyway,
that's when you realize, when you start looking at those numbers, you realize Canada is really, my goodness. Like Aldi has not said a word about Canada for the longest time. They don't have to. This is why.
They don't have. They can open up 100, 200 stores without breaking a sweat, so to speak, without having to cross a border. Like there's still lots of opportunity here. To fight for that in America.
Pretty much. And I know a lot of Canadian friends that do go to Aldi in Burlington or St. Albans and those kind of places, really, to save some money. So, yeah. So some Canadians do have access to Aldi, but not all of them.
Let's shift gears. Let's talk about China. Let's talk about our Prime Minister is off to China. I think he's there today. And there's lots of things on the agenda. I mean, this is the first top-to-top meeting in many, many years. And,
you know who's with him?
I think our agriculture minister.
Who's not with him?
Who? Who's not with him? Who's not with him?
Premier Doug Ford. So Premier Doug Ford is in Toronto saying, don't bring down tariffs on EVs. You're going to compromise thousands of jobs in Ontario, which of course he's right. But
we're going anyway. We're going to lose them anyway.
Who,
let me tell you.
Who is with Prime Minister Carney right now?
Who?
Premier Scott Moe from Saskatchewan. That's a sign. To me, that's how losing a political battle looks like. Really. Interesting. And Cody Blois is there too.
Oh, really? Is the minister there?
He's back.
I forget the minister. I know you said Cody is involved.
You forget the minister.
Who's the minister again?
Everyone forgets the minister of PI. It's Heath McDonald, of all names. McDonald. You got to remember that now. McDonald.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's now. Is Minister McDonald in China?
Of course he is.
Okay, so we got a contingent there.
Someone has to take pictures.
Oh, nice. I think our chances of getting on the podcast keep going down.
But seriously, you wouldn't go to China to make a statement on ag if you bring, like, you intend to make if your intent is to make a statement in China and move the needle a little bit, you will bring along Cody Blois and the Premier of Saskatchewan.
My bet is there'll be no statement. They're trying to. I'd love to hear what you think. I think they're managing expectations. This is the first top-to-top meeting in a long time. I'm not sure we're going to hear anything coming out of this other than we're having the dialogue, which is an improvement. What do you think? What's your thinking? You think they're going to make an announcement?
So this is what I think is going to happen. I think what's going to happen is exactly what you described. What I'm hoping to see is some sort of plan, roadmap to end tariffs. And because I honestly, because of what's going on with the U.S., I think China wants peace with Canada. The problem, but most importantly, I think China knows that it's going to actually create more tensions within our own country. And that is something that China will love to see. Because can you imagine Ottawa making a decision that would actually, go against the interests of Central Canada for once? Like seriously, this is big. And frankly, I've been advocating for this for a very long time. I think by weaponizing our farmers, aiming at our farmers is so wrong diplomatically. They did it with Huawei in 2018, and they're doing it again with EVs. And frankly, the EV argument, I just don't see it, to be honest. I mean, why would you want to build an uncompetitive sector while you have a tenant in the White House that doesn't want to do business with you? I just don't understand. I don't see the business case at all.
Speaking of conversation, let's now get to our great interview with Suzie Yorke from the Little Cacao Company.
Well, today we actually have the pleasure to host Suzie Yorke, the extraordinaire energizing bunny of the food industry in Canada, who launched the Little Cacao Co. So, Suzie, welcome to the program.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Un gros merci.
So you've done a lot. You've done a lot. We went through your CV. I mean, you've been everywhere. You've done everything. So from your own perspective, tell us who you are and how did you end up launching the Little Cacao Co.
Okay, well, the short version is une Québécoise pure laine that didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went into engineering. Knew that I didn't want to be an engineer, and got my first job in marketing at P&G in Toronto. And that really just started my last 35-year career has been as a brand builder, starting in consumer packaged goods on the side of the table of the client. So I worked my way up to VP Marketing CMO. And then I did fractional stuff, kind of back when fractional was less popular. Now it's very popular. And then I realized that I was kind of the right hand to all these founders. I was doing their 3-year strategic plan, their marketing plan, their sales plan, their annual brand plans, building blocks, price increases, everything you can imagine, innovation, of course, all the concept testing. And I'm like, wait a minute. I can do that. So I had and I can be like the owner. And so I had an idea when I went to Expo West that fats, I saw that the trend of good fats were coming after I read Nina Teicholz's book, The Big Fat Surprise on the Plane. And then that was it. Like, that's all it took to launch my first brand at age 50. It was, I think I was naive. I've been told that I'm a little bit on the spectrum. I found that out in my 50s. And I realized in my 30s that I'm gay. So I'm told that that's kind of a thing, the lesbian on the spectrum in her 50s were a thing. So I kind of missed the whole, like, are you crazy? You're a single mom. You just have a little bit of money in the bank and you're just going to launch a brand from your kitchen table. So I kind of skipped that part and just did it. And it just took off. Like my first brand, year 1, 8 million, year 2, 47 million. Like so a lot of the things I did were because the first brand that I launched took off. We sold 100 million in revenue in the cumulative in the first 3 years. And then with that comes a lot of good stuff. And then COVID hit. So the story kind of, didn't unfold all the way to, the big exit that you sometimes see with the US brands. Yeah. But it allowed me to pivot and, I went back to being a CMO, which I really like. But then once I discovered pure chocolate, I've done 10 trips to South America. I had to get pulled back in to be a founder. And I had a lot of people say, you're crazy. You're, late 50s. What are you doing sales sheets and filling out forms and, in the lab in R&D and with your knapsack going to Ecuador and Peru all the time. But it's, it's kind of in my DNA now. Like I could have quit many times before starting the company and even during, because we're still a little baby company. But I think somebody has to make chocolate healthy, and I've kind of paid my dues, and I kind of don't see anybody doing it, so I'm gonna keep going, darn it.
But it seems absolutely counterintuitive. Before I throw it back to Michael, I mean, what inspired you to go into chocolate and make chocolate an healthy option, I guess?
Oh, it was really easy. It's similar to Good Fats, where, I read a book and I realized we'd all been misled. This time I talked to some chocolatiers and little craft factory owners in South America. And I realized, wow, like I just started doing research, and that was before AI. Now, you can get like tons and tons of stuff in much more rapid time. But I realized that the cacao bean is the number 2 highest antioxidant superfood in the world, and the number 1 for flavonols. And nobody really knows about it. Like it's not like the acai berries or the moringas, like the super duper known foods. Because for 150 years, we just destroyed the cacao bean with sugar, bad fats, and awful processing. So I kind of, the marketer in me, I kind of have 2 driving forces. One is, I just want to get a low sugar, not processed, pure, like craft chocolate out there. And the second thing is I really want to get the word out on the superfood and the evilness of processing with alkali. But I kind of know that the first one is what will get a brand off the ground. You just have to say creamy and no sugar in the same sentence. But the reality is there's $50 billion of big, bad chocolate that's processing this beautiful superfood. And there's not a need to do that. It's just to kind of, get the flavor, get the acidity. It's just kind of shortcuts on flavor. And you don't really need to do that. So I'm hoping that, I can do my small part to move the needle. And I have 2 Gen Z kids. And the same as Poppy changed the world for Pop. It just took a brand, it took a woman who kind of went on Shark Tank and was given a hard time, had this kind of silly glass bottle. And then, what is it? 7 years later, she's like a gazillion billionaire, and she changed the world. No one's done it in chocolate. I don't know if I can do it from my, little kitchen in Toronto. But I'm going to try, I figured out how to get creamy chocolate with no sugar added. So now it's more about getting the word out.
Mm-hmm. It's a super interesting story for 10, 12 reasons. So I'm just going to pick one. I mean, as a veteran marketer and product developer, you've got both the, and if not competing, maybe you're trying to make them complementary, both an indulgence and a superfood. Now, as you think about actually scaling this business and scaling it from an adoption perspective, Poppy is a great example, right? They just hit the mark in that kind of better for you in a category. I mean, they just had their liquidity moment. Is that how you're thinking about navigating the positioning of this product? Speak a little more about that.
Yeah, I think for sure if Poppy and Olipop and Coke Soda in Canada hadn't gotten the results that they got, and one's exited, one's kind of partnered with Keurig, and one hasn't yet. But the two of them are worth over $2 billion within a few years of just being on the shelves. I think if they hadn't shown that Big Bad Pop can be disrupted with a truly healthy alternative, and they just did 2 things: lower the sugar, some to 0, some to 5 grams, and increase the fiber. I think it would seem like a bigger, daunting task. But, those small startups basically showed the world that if pop can be made healthy, chocolate can be made healthy too. So I think that's definitely given me inspiration to keep going. I'm going to talk today on this podcast about stuff that's not yet, on LinkedIn or public. So there'll be a bit of caveats. The story might change. Yeah.
Exclusives. We love exclusives.
We love exclusive.
depending, you'll have to tell me when you air this, but you know, there's a path to change what gets adopted broadly in the food system. And it you know, there's a model to that. And I think when the message is right and the product is right and the categories are ripe for disruption, which chocolate absolutely is, because it hasn't been disrupted in a big way yet. We still have, you know, the candy chocolates and the chocolates with 50% sugar and the Nutellas with 50% sugar or 60. It's ripe for disruption. So we'll give it a good shot, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's not that people haven't tried in different dimensions. I mean, I guess, you know, from craft chocolate, as you might describe it, versus mass market chocolate. I mean, you do have kind of more ethical chocolate. I mean, that's been a big movement. So I guess this could be, you're hoping, the next wave, because there was some kind of, I don't know what is anecdotal or whatever, that chocolate's a little good for your heart. So you had these kind of little green sprigs of knowledge around the product. Now, I'm curious about, you know, you've been on a long journey. Let's talk about Love Good Fats and the lessons you learned that you're applying to this, because I think our discussion with you is super interesting for people who are both just getting started and veteran innovators, because you learn one lesson from another, and then you build and build and build. So what are you building on when you scale or attempt to scale the little cacao company?
Well, for sure. Like, if I knew what I know now when I was launching Good Fats, I think the things would have been quite different. But it was also a different world. Like, I think we had the phases of, we had the Vega and the Kind, giving us all, giving the CPG potential investors and entrepreneurs a lot of energy. Then you had the Wild West 2019 to 2021, which Good Fats was right in the middle. So, it was crazy. No one cared about gross margin. We had incredible velocities. We had stronger velocities on the brand that any U.S. brand had ever seen. So they'd be like, oh, that's just in Canada, that's not scalable to the U.S., et cetera. But you also had all these VCs. I had 82 VCs reach out. I was raising $1 million and I was closing 3.5. I was raising 3 and I was closing 5. I was raising 5 and everyone was throwing 20 and 20. I had 2 major, due diligence term sheets at 25 million US. And then COVID hit, and, COVID hit. So it was like, gross margins didn't matter because it was all about a race to capture market share, which is a valid strategy with my 25 years in multinationals. Like, first to market has like a value to it that you can never kind of you can't buy yourself that competitive advantage when you're first. So then COVID hit, and in bars, we got a cold shower. So instead of, cereal went through the roof and bread makers went through the roof, portable nutrition just got destroyed, and startups took a big hit too, because the front of the store now was on all the unhealthy staples and masks and stuff like that. Like, none of the retailers wanted to put emerging brands at the front of the store because, people couldn't even get to the store and you needed your staples. So the bar category went down 40%. So we were just launching in the US. We were in 12,000 doors in Kroger National, at Walmart, Whole Foods National, of course, and Sprouts. So it was a really kind of tough time to be in portable nutrition. And then there was a couple of other things that happened, which I think, there's some lesson learned. It was a small VC put in money, and there's some lesson learned there in terms of what I would do very differently next time. And then, I stepped into a growth role instead of CEO, and then we turned to CEOs, and then, all of that was just not working. There's hundreds and hundreds of, when the founder steps out, and there can often be a time and a place for a founder to step out. But it has to be really measured. And, when you have a couple of things happening at the same time, and it's hard to find like scrappy kind of founder replacements. So our brand was still very young, and I was kind of in every single trade show and meeting and driving the innovation, the 80 SKUs.
Pulling up the banners, putting up the signs. Yeah.
And you kind of had to, you have like the difference, like I was 20 years in CPG, and the most I would get is behind the window twice a year in focus groups. Right. And then suddenly I'm a founder, and I'm, at that Boston Marathon, we sampled 31,000 samples. I was there for 3 days in a row. I did every single trade show. I wrote the storyboards for, we had national TV ads, regional TV ads. I knew what the insights were. I talked to the consumers. I drove the 80s. I launched 2 SKUs, and then within two years, we had 82 SKUs. Now, a lot of it was just like Canada, US, Costco versions, different sizes but still, so there's a bit of magic there that as founders, we're in the stores, we're talking to consumers, we're much more connected to the trends than the big CPG. And that's why they want to purchase us. And I totally get that.
They drive innovation with you guys, you as a category. Sylvain, you and I have talked about this before. We've seen it like when we're at Cial, that innovation is driven from entrepreneurs like Suzie, and then the big guys come and say that you become their engine, their innovation engine. You and your counterparts,
their
right?
Growth engine. Right. There's big, like in Mondelez this week, big articles, like they don't, like the big CPG needs to acquire. So it's a cool model for us, founders, because we have the guts and the vision and the speed to be able to create these brands. And then they can come in when we have enough scale to take the brands and create true legacy brands, Poppy and Smart Sweets, like those brands are going to be around forever. So I think, I certainly want to do, Love Good Fats is doing very well, and is a legacy brand, even though we didn't exit to a big strategic. But I certainly want, with Little Cacao, the learnings are, it really starts with the unmet need, the white space, the insights that the consumers didn't know that they didn't know and they needed. And then, block by block, it's about scaling. But I have the 4 Ps, I think, down pat, the positioning and the product and the price value, I think is right. And then the P&L, I'm managing that closely, very scrappy. I raise a little bit of money. I'm just opening up another little raise now. And, but it doesn't take long. If the 3 Ps are really solid, then we'll start getting proof of concept, and then the money will flow more easily. Cause it's a tough dynamic post-COVID. Thousands of startups went under, and for 2 years, all the VC money, all the family offices money dried up entirely. And now it's a bit exciting because you have some incredible exits. So like people are on the fence and like, whoa, wait a minute. You either have nothing or you have insane exits. My former boss exited for 1.6 billion. And he just started with a little CoQ10 brand, and 10 years later, boom. So
10 years later, he's got a set of cottages in the Muskokas. Hey, listen, I got one really quick question for you. It might not be a quick answer, but maybe it's a snapshot. You, and then I'll pass the microphone back to Savannah to take us home. The better for you snack categories is crowded. You know that better than anybody. I mean, you're working with 3 farmers, I think, still which is a great better for you. They've been on the pod before. And as I think about the white space, you mentioned this white space in there. We've talked, in this category about fair trade. We've talked to, these are all kind of things that have been done or perceived to have been done or marketed to be done. I'm very curious about how you see this fitting in the new environment. Where's the white space? You got GLP-1 drugs changing craveability, changing how people think about craveability. What's that white space you're trying to pinpoint with this product and your company?
It's, with GLP-1, it's protein. We all need protein and fiber. With the products I've launched, I have 0 grams of sugar added. I have added protein. The new chocolate bars I'm launching have 12 and 16 grams of protein and 16 grams of fiber, but they're a pure chocolate. So they will be sitting. I'm just getting them. They're part of the secret that's not yet unveiled on LinkedIn. But they're getting listed. They're going to sit side by side with Lily's and with Lindt and with Ghirardelli's of the world, like the pure chocolate. But now it's just a healthy version. So, if you are gonna want to indulge in a pure chocolate, not a protein bar, but a pure chocolate, now there's a choice in the aisle that's not only a better cacao bean and never processed with alkali, so it's loaded with flavanols and antioxidants, but you have low sugar, high fiber, high protein, and pretty cool packaging, I'd like to think. So I'm hoping to, carve out a big chunk of that set there, that 8-feet set where people go to get their pure chocolate.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I really enjoy when I look at your work is that you seem to embed yourself very much in the brand. You're an extension of the brand itself. You actually film yourself consuming your product. You post those videos on social media. You get a lot of hits, a lot of attention. I guess, Mike, if I may pivot a little bit here, focusing more on you as an entrepreneur, as a person, as a founder, do you see yourself as a role model for women, for a community out there that is just looking for some inspiration? Do you feel that?
Well, I didn't really feel it, in 2019, because I've been gay, and since my mid-30s, I've raised my 2 kids as a lesbian mom and family. And then with Love Good Fats, I was sort of not really that out, and I had a board. I think my board didn't even know I was gay. And then I started kind of becoming.
Did it matter to you that they didn't know? Is that something that's important?
Yeah, I think I felt, because I'd never not been out, but I think I kind of felt like, okay, I shouldn't be out. Like I kind of, like, it never really come up. I didn't just walk into a board meeting one day and say, hey guys, by the way, it was all men, and oh, by the way, I'm gay. So it kind of hadn't come out, but I kind of had the impression that a few didn't know. And then my daughter was at McGill, and then she was figuring out what she was going to do, but she was taking women's studies and wants to make, a difference in the world. Now she's going to be a teacher. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, I have a platform as a CEO of the fastest food startup in Canada in 30 years. I won all these awards, and we were getting, in every single store, there was more and more and more awareness. And I just, I went to the retailers, each one of them, and I said, hey, the banks have the pride flag in their windows in the month of June, but I walk into the Loblaws and the Walmarts, and there's nothing really to celebrate diversity. So I did this big promotion, Love is Love, and had, dedicated POS and displays and donation to Rainbow Railroad. We donated $1 per box, and it was before the whole. Yeah, it was like we donated 50,000, 15,000, 15,000. So we saved a lot of lives, and that's when and it was before, things all kind of blew up with Target. I think 2 years ago. So it was just a few years before that. But I decided to kind of take a stand, and definitely, had I had, my life career plans, and when I have, a significant step change in my financial situation, having opening up a foundation to support women and the LGBT community is what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. But right now I'm paying the bills, and I'm out there trying to be a bit of a role model. I'm a bit quirky, I do know that by being on this spectrum a tiny little bit, sometimes I kind of miss the bonehead things that happen. And I'm just being me. And being me means I have a lot of jets going. I've done 11 Ironmans, and then I got into yoga, and then
was it 11 Ironmans?
Yeah, 11.
Yeah, wow.
completed. Yeah. And then I've done, a bunch of races. So I always kind of was moving as a way to kind of like, I've had an intense career, and
I don't know if you can tell, but when you're presenting, because I've been in a room while you were presenting, I mean, people are exhausted just listening to what you've accomplished. I mean, seriously, it's incredible.
One thing at a time. And I've had a couple of, I've never been married, but I've had a couple of divorces in there, which take way more of a toll than an Ironman. But, I just, I get up and I kind of re-engage on doing my best every day. And I think, I was in cultures where it's okay to fail, and you'll kind of learn and just figure out, okay, well, what did it mean? What did we learn? What do we do next? And I'm very perseverant, and it's been tough on the chocolate. Like, okay, there's some missteps and this and that, but now I'm kind of landing where it's like, wow, like I really feel like I wake up in the morning and I'm pumped, because I think like all cylinders are firing, and the price of cacao is coming down. There's, the crops have coming back, like, cause it was triple. Yep. Crops have coming back. A whole bunch of brands have gone bankrupt, off the shelves. Distributors are gone. So that's unfortunate. But in terms of the timing for my company too, then you have the Buy Canadian movement. Like, sometimes you need a little bit of luck, and Love Good Fats. Yeah. I had a lot of luck, right? Like keto, I launched a keto product before keto existed, and I rode that wave of being the first. And, I think the timings, Poppy had some good timing finally, that, other brands weren't able to get the same momentum when they were trying the same thing. So I think, the time is right to bring a healthy chocolate. And, the retailers in Canada have been exceptional, and one after another, they grant me meetings, and they're like, yep, we'll support you and we'll put it on shelf. So I'll need to do my job to get velocities and awareness and trial.
Honestly, I think everyone wants your success. If you actually can convince everyone that chocolate is healthy, and it becomes part of the food guide, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a big win.
I think so. Well, and that's the other thing. The food guide was against, a lot of, like, the FDA food guide this year is going to change. And so I think, we'll try to kind of do our part, but something has to change. We have to take better care of the planet and regenerative, and there's just limited resources, and we have to take better care of our bodies when, 80% of people have metabolic health diseases. Like, something's got to change. I see a bit too much return to sugar, and then, a bit more, I think we really have to be careful as to how we food is medicine and the choices we make, because it's tough out there, and our body is just craving for some clean stuff.
Well, listen, Suzie, thank you so much for your energy, your vision. It's just so inspiring. And so when we met in Vancouver a few months ago, I thought, well, she needs to be on our show. So thank you for making the time.
Okay, my pleasure.
Take care.
Have pleasure. Okay, bye.
All right, we're back. I wanted to touch on, based on something, you wrote an op-ed about the cost of feeding our pets. I thought it was very interesting, because pets and the pet industries come up here at the conference as
really?
People. Yeah, it's really.
Oh, you had some folks from Pet Value on your tour, right?
That's right. I had some folks in Pet Value, great retailer here in Canada. Shout out to Pet Value, and we were just chatting about the movement in society from pets being whatever they were, service animals, or that's just pets that were outside, to kind of pet parents. Like, they're really, people are having less children and really taking care of their pets and feeding them better. There's trends for more and more quality food, but with that comes some costs. And you wrote an op-ed about that. Tell us more.
I've never actually written an op-ed about pet food at all. It just happened over the holidays, and you gather as a family, and you get to think about your children and of course pets, and there was an article over the holidays suggesting that we're having less children, fewer children. It's everywhere in the Western world. The birth rate is getting lower and lower. In fact, we were finishing the year 2025 in Canada, learning that our population is actually declining now already. And I was expecting that to happen in a few years from now, but it's already declining. Can you imagine? We're not making enough kids, but the younger generations and seniors are adopting pets at a record pace. So we have almost 17 million cats and dogs in Canada.
Wow.
Adopted by people. That's a lot of animals to feed. And I don't own a pet personally, but if, like, I'm thinking of Ziggy, for example. My guess is that if Ziggy's hungry, you're not gonna be able to tell him and say, "Listen, I don't have any money, so you have to wait until tomorrow." I'm not sure that's going to work out well. So we might. He's I think the veterinarian said he's looking a little chunky, so just the opposite is true. But you're absolutely frankly, and my guess, and this is, you're the expert in this. You're not supposed to be feeding dogs with table food or human food. Anyways,
I don't do that. I never do that.
I've been told that, and so you can't. You can't cook your way out of this mess. You have to really buy pet food, and pet food prices have gone up 30 to 50% in the last 5 years. I'm sure it has impacted a couple of things. Well, what people are doing with their pets, and of course, what kind of breed you adopt as well. Would you actually adopt, like, Ziggy's huge compared to like a Chihuahua or something like that? I mean, I don't know. I haven't priced it out, but I suspect that the price difference between maintaining or taking care of Ziggy versus a Chihuahua is immense. I mean, it's probably costing you way more to feed the guy than a small Chihuahua, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's no question, and I think I've talked about this before. We invest in a high quality Canadian made pet food because our philosophy is feed them as well as we can afford and keep them out of the vets, which is even more expensive.
And Ziggy wants to buy local.
So once again, shout out to our friends at
Buy Canadian. I think I've heard him say that. Buy Canadian. Buy Canadian, Michael. Buy Canadian.
Well, there's Pet Value. There's Ren's Pets. There's lots of great Canadian retailers of pet food, and there's Great Pet Alcana is what we feed Ziggy out of Alberta.
Okay.
And there's more and more pet foods that are
lots of variety. Wow.
Lots of variety.
I wish I was Ziggy. I think he's better fed than I am.
Let's get to the last thing. Speaking of being fed, look at my segues this year, right? I'm big on the segues. We've had news in the Quebec pork processing world at the leadership level. Talk about it.
Absolutely. A former guest of ours, Yannick Gervais, is actually resigning his post as CEO of Olimel. And it's sad to see him go, but he's leaving his position in July. His replacement, which is internal, Daniel Rivet, he's the COO of Olimel. So a logical pick, to be honest. And frankly, I think they were looking for consistency. And Yannick Gervais actually made Olimel a miracle in terms of coming back from the dead. I mean, a few years ago, Olimel was $500 million. They were running a deficit of $500 million. Can you imagine? Now they're running a profit. So Yannick Gervais should actually leave his position with his head very, very high. Should be proud of his accomplishment. And Daniel Rivet actually was just seeing him in action. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen to Yannick, but I do want to thank him very much for his service. He did a fantastic job. Olimel is one of those companies that is sort of too big to fail in Quebec because so many pork producers rely on Olimel to make a living. So kudos to Yannick. And yes, you should be proud of your accomplishments for sure.
Well, congratulations to both of them, really. Yannick on what he's accomplished, and best of luck, I should say, to Daniel as he takes the leadership of the organization. As you say, very important company in the food business in the province of Quebec and in the country, and they ship around the world. So they'll also have something to say, perhaps, about what's happening in China and exports opportunities. So hopefully this makes for more opportunities.
And China's a big deal for them. Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. All right, that's a wrap on this episode. Great to see you and hear your voice again. We'll be back next week with another great episode. We got, again, some great guests planned for the rest of the season. I'm Michael LeBlanc, media entrepreneur, and you are?
And I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Safe travels, everybody.
Take care.